welcome to today's episode of Relationship and Life. This week and next week, we'll be talking about the family. We'll be talking about how to secure the home front. The family is the basic foundation of society, is the core place that God raises all of us up, whether it's for church, whether it's for business, whether it's for TV, whether it's for government and anything. The home, the family, the marriage is the basis where God creates all these things. That's where that's the basis of all human relationships. Now, if we go into the Bible from Genesis chapter 1, we'll find out that God created places before he created people. He created places before he created people. Why? Because there's a way the place shapes the people. There's a way the space in which you live shapes your life. So we see in Genesis chapter 2 particularly that God planted a garden, then he brought man into that garden to tend it and to keep it, and that garden became man's home. Now again, if you remember in the Bible, I'll read the story of Moses from Exodus chapter 23, verse 20. Now, before he spoke to Moses, he had spoken to his great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather Abraham, in Genesis 15. God said to Abraham, he said, listen, your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land. He said they'll be there for 400 and something years. He said, after that, I'm going to bring them out and I'll bring them into this land that I prepared for them. At that time, Abraham did not even have a child. So God had prepared a place for the family of Abraham, for the nation that was going to come through Abraham before they were born at all. When Moses showed up years later, this is what God said to Moses as he was leading the children of Israel out to the promised land. Verse 20 of Exodus 23. Exodus 23, verse 20. He said, behold, I will send an angel before you to keep you in the way and bring you into the place I have prepared for you. He said, the angel will keep you in the way and bring you into the place I have prepared for you. God prepared places before he prepares people. Again, if you remember the story in Genesis chapter 1, the whole world was in a mess. There was darkness everywhere, and God created light, he created the earth, he created the firmament, he created the grasses, he created the animals, and lastly, he created man. He created this place for man before he brought man in. I remember before we had our kids, we prepared a room for them. Before the baby came, we had a baby room and all that, prepared the room, painted it, put the curtain there and all that. So usually we prepare places before we bring in people. Why? Because the places affect the people. Africa is a place where dark-skinned people live. So usually if you're a light-skinned person and you stay in Africa for a while, if you're not careful and you stay in the sun of Africa, there's a way it conditions your skin. Why? The place you live shapes you. Now, if you take a little child from Nigeria who speaks in a certain way, we have our own intonation, and you take this child at a certain age before things are formed, and you take the child to maybe somewhere in Europe or somewhere in America, there's a way it will condition the child's tonation, and the child, after a while, begins to, he doesn't have to learn it, you don't have to condition the child, you don't have to put the child in a class. The same child that was speaking a certain way in Africa gets to Europe or gets to America, and after a period, he begins to speak in a certain way. Why? Because places affect people. Places shape people. I remember many years ago, there was a story in about a child that was killed in London and thrown into the river, I think River Thames. And when they got this person, brought out it was a dark-skinned person, brought out the person from the river and did the autopsy and all that. From the test they did, they were able to find out the person was from Nigeria. In fact, from somewhere in Edo State. Why? Because they found out that after testing the person, the tissues of the person, the things they found out on the person, the peculiarity was from somebody in that area. So places affect people. Places affect people. And what the devil has tried to do is this, because he knows how a place can affect a person and how a place can shape the person, the devil attacks us in our place. He attacks the family in the place. Why? The home is the root, is the base, is the origin from where all the family units coming from. So he believes that once he can mess up that origin, once he can destroy that place, he can destroy the family. Every problem in society today is a family problem. Every problem. If there's bad leadership, is a family problem. If someone is a societal miscreant causing trouble in society, it's a family problem. Why? Either the child was not trained well, or the child missed some training. Either you could train a child, but the child can choose his own way. So the way we fix our society, the way we build our society is by building that space. And because the devil understands that, he does everything to destroy that mold. We'll take a break now and we'll continue after the break. Please don't go away.
Experience God's life, light, and love as you join our church family this Sunday at the Helper's House. Venue, Kwoti Event Center, 171 Bagada Oworonshoki Expressway, beside EcoBank, opposite UBS, First Federal Bus Stop, Bagada, Lagos. Time, 9:30 a.m.
The decision on whom to marry is perhaps one of the most important decisions that you can make in life. Unlike any other decision you make in life, the decision on whom to marry has a far-reaching direct impact on your life. Sadly and unfortunately, most people fail to prepare adequately for this all too important life decision. In this book, Before You Say I Do, by Adeniyi Adekunle, you will find points to consider before proceeding to the marriage altar and down-to-earth practical questions to ask yourself before saying, I do.
Welcome back. We've been talking about the home space, and we're talking about how to secure the home space. We started talking about the fact that spaces shape people, that people are shaped by the place they go to. You know, I travel out of Nigeria sometimes, and I find out that when you're in Nigerian airports, there's the way people behave. They behave a bit rough and all that, particularly if you are coming into the country. That the same people who outside Nigeria behave themselves normally, the moment they land in the Nigerian airport, just begin to behave in a very strange way. And that shows me more than anything that people are shaped by places. If you go to a, what we call a buka, you know, those corner stores, and you go and eat food and all that, there's a way people behave and make noise. But you take the same person, move them into a top-class restaurant, maybe in a hotel or something, a buffet, you find out that they are slightly better behaved. Why? The place you are controls your behavior. So the devil knows that if I can destroy the space that shapes these people, then I can destroy them. And that's exactly what he did. Now let's go to the book of Genesis again, chapter 3, and see how the devil did this. God placed man, remember, he placed man in this garden called Eden, and this was the home that God put man. Even though God created the garden, the devil came into this garden that God had created and attacked man. The first thing you need to understand is this: no matter who you are, no matter where you are, the devil will invade your space. And that's not the problem. The devil invades everybody's space. The garden that God himself planted, the devil came in and invaded it. And how did he do it? Let's read. Genesis chapter 3. I'll start reading from verse 1. I'll read from verse 1 to 7. Genesis 3 from verse 1 to 7. Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field which the Lord had made. And he said to the woman, has God said you should not eat of every tree in the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat the fruit of the trees in the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God said you should not eat, nor should you touch it, lest you die. Then the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die. Verse 5, for God knows that the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. So when the woman saw the tree, that it was good for food, and it was pleasant to the eyes, a tree desirable to make one wise, she took of the fruit and ate it. She also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Verse 7, then the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves covering. So the devil came into the space that God created for man. Understand this: no matter what God has created for you, no matter what God has given you, the devil will invade your space. God gave this, and you assume that because God gave it to them, the angels protect and all that. No, the devil came in and he attacked. And look at the way he attacked. He didn't come shouting, he didn't come fighting, he didn't come with a sword, he didn't come with a dagger. He came as a friend. A simple question: did God say you should not eat of any tree in this garden? It wasn't a bad question. It's a very simple question. And the woman too answered, oh yes, God told us something about the tree. He didn't say we should not eat everything. He said we could eat every tree, but he said of this tree we should not eat, and we should not even touch it. Then the devil went for the next one. He said, listen, God knows that if you eat this fruit, nothing will happen to you. He said, nothing will happen to you. You will not die. You will not die. In fact, if you eat it, you become wiser. You become better. It will make you like God. Your eyes will be open. And this woman looked at this fruit again, a fruit that she's seen all her life before then. And suddenly the fruit looked something different. And the woman took of it, and that's how the first family was destroyed. It broke down. The Bible, that's what we call the fall. The first family fell. Why? They did not know how to protect their space. They did not know how to defend their space. And the question is this: do you know how to defend your home space? Do you know how to defend what God has given to you? Do you know how to defend your marriage? That is the basis of society, and that's where the greatest attack is. If you do not know how to defend your space, if you don't know how the attacks of the enemy come, then you are in a very dangerous position of destroying your home. Remember, the devil will not come with armory. He will not come with daggers. He will not come with anything. He came as a friend. Now, that's the first garden we see, and that's the first Adam. Remember the story of the second Adam, or the last Adam, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was also in the garden. If we go to Matthew 26, Jesus was in a garden called the Garden of Gethsemane. And in that same garden, the person that came was not the devil. It was somebody the devil entered. It was a friend. And he came in. In fact, the Bible just, when he came to meet Jesus, the Bible says Jesus said, you betrayed your master with a kiss. He didn't come saying, oh, that's the person, that's the guy you need to kiss. He came as a friend, kissed him and said, that's the guy you need to pick up. Understand that every invasion in your home space will not be a direct attack. It will be thoughts in your mind. It will be thoughts in your mind. And the starting point for defending this is this. What are those thoughts going in your mind? What are the arrows the devil is shooting to you? Begin to capture those thoughts. Those thoughts are the most dangerous thing. People are not your problem. The thoughts that come into your mind are your problem. Thank you very much for joining us on today's episode of Relationship and Life. We'll continue on this episode same time tomorrow. Have a very, very wonderful week.
I'm back bigger and better. In a world full of pressures on all sides, many people experience some form of setback at some point or the other in life. While some setbacks can easily be overcome, many others can knock the best of men out of the game of life and bring them to a place where they never have the courage to get back up and fulfill their dreams and aspirations. In this book, I'm Bigger and Better by Adeniyi Adekunle, learn scriptural strategies that will help you turn setbacks into comebacks, help you rise every time you fall, and help you fulfill your dreams and aspirations.